I'm Sonia Azad. Welcome to The Shift, a place to inspire growth, resilience, and wisdom, real connection, healthy conversation as we navigate life's changes and challenges together. Because, as I like to say, we are all each other's teachers. Thanks to our friends at the Center for making our podcast possible. Hey, I'm Sonia Azad. Welcome to The Shift. I'm at Dallas Irby today with my friend Tony Casillas. It is an honor, by the way, to call you my friend. Can I say that?
We're besties, man.
We're besties.
We're friends.
Thank you.
We're friends.
I am going to start each of these podcasts with what I like to call a one-word check-in. The only rule is you have to be honest.
Oh, okay.
Honesty.
Yeah. Honesty is the best policy.
How are you feeling today?
Tired.
Tired?
Yeah.
Yeah. I appreciate knowing that.
Well, it was a long holiday season.
Yeah.
And I don't know exactly when this is going to, you're going to put this podcast out, but holidays, you have family in and, it's just, let's hurry up and let's go somewhere. And but not really tired. I'm rejuvenated because I'm sitting here with you.
Suddenly he's rejuvenated.
Yeah, so I
have
looked
that effect
at you and I'm
on
like,
people.
your vibe and everything.
Am I raising the collective consciousness right now?
You are, yeah. And I've taken just a little bit, and I know you're pure, and you're the yoga, and I'm just an admirer on Instagram. I'm like, I couldn't do that when I was like in my youngest days. But anyway,
You're so sweet.
Tired but rejuvenated by Sonia.
Tired but rejuvenated. I appreciate that. A lot of people may not know how we know each other, how we're friends, and we actually met through your wife, Tamara, and an organization called the Bridge Breast Network. Tamara's a breast cancer survivor, and you guys were chairing that gala several years ago.
Yeah, that was a great organization. I think that, you got to be real when someone goes through that, because so many people have the challenges of cancer. I mean, it's just a 4-letter word in everyone's book. But and it was a great fundraiser to meet you. And, of course, I've watched you here on TV and so it's good to be able to see people and really raise something for awareness, and especially if you have someone that it affects you, your wife, your spouse, or mother, dad, whoever it may be, and be able to get people in the same building and have fun, but raise money for a tremendous cause, because it affects so many people.
Well, I mean, this podcast is called The Shift because of kind of all of the shifts in life that we navigate together or alone sometimes. Right. And I'm going to talk a lot about you today, but since we're on the topic, how was navigating someone else's diagnosis for you? I mean, your spouse.
Yeah, that's really a challenging question. It's kind of an emotional question because you really, it's so vivid, because when it happens, it stops your world. Yeah, it's like, okay, was that really happen to someone that you're married to or yourself? And so it was kind of like everything kind of just stood still. It was almost like this kind of Matrix kind of moment. And so you have to compartmentalize and think, okay, you're not the only person in this, and you hopefully have a good support group. But it's tough. I mean, the hardest thing I think is to be vulnerable and be strong. I know for guys, and you want to be so strong, but because it's your wife or whoever it may be. And I think that's the point about it, Sonia, is to be able to talk about it, and because it's hard to be able to, people don't understand until they go through it.
Yeah.
But it's challenging, but at the end of the day, hopefully the good part about it will happen, where it's something that you can be a survivor and you can treat it. But the bottom line is it affects so many people, and they're open to talking about it. So I think that was, when it hits hard.
Well, and something that you said really stands out. I mean, you guys could have gone through it privately, or you could have chosen to go through this cancer diagnosis and do nothing on the other end, but y'all chose to be open and vulnerable and generous. Yeah. And I think that speaks to who you are at the core, and that's why I call you guys both, you and Tamara, friends.
Oh, yeah. Well, I appreciate, and I think it has to do with the person it affects, like Tamara wanted to be open about it, and she wanted to be kind of a beacon for everyone else that's going through it, that don't want to talk about it, which I get that, because it's, I know a lot of people that, people that you read about you wouldn't even know because they don't disclose it.
Yeah.
And that's fine, but I just think that, I think it kind of helps your inner strength to be able to talk about something. It's like going into therapy. The more you talk about it, the more you get through it, and you navigate your way through it. And I think she wanted to do it, and I was like, hey, okay, and I'll be right there with you. And if you want to talk about it, it's going to help you become stronger and let other women that are affected by breast cancer, then I'll support you.
Now you mentioned therapy. Have you ever gone to therapy?
Oh yeah, and I think now with so much the mental awareness and everything, and it's for young people. I see, I have kids. My kids are 22, twins, and it's amazing all the kids that are no longer here because of suicide. And it's like, if you could just tell someone it's not permanent, it's temporary. But I come in a generation where you didn't talk about that stuff. It's like, okay, you just tough it up and suck it up, and you can't be, you're a strong dude, you're a football player, an athlete, and you don't have any feelings. And I think now the way people are talking about it, and it's vogue, and be able to sift through all the things that made the challenges you have, I think it's cool, and I think it affects so many people. And I think the funniest thing that ever happened to me, I went to therapy. See, I'm already talking about this all. See, we're shifting everything. The thing when you go in and talk to someone, and this kind of pertains to me. I've been married for 25 years,
yeah.
And a therapist looks at me and says, "Hey, Tony, I got a patient of mine that says every morning he wakes up and tells his wife he's sorry." I said, he says, "Well, why do you say that?" He goes, "Well, I know I'm going to do something wrong that something's going on." But anyway, it was kind of funny and like.
What a takeaway!
And so what I did is like, I'm going to try that. I'm going to wake up every morning and tell Tamara I'm sorry. No, I didn't do that. But I think it's funny. But anyway, to your point about all the mental awareness and everything, I think it's good to be able to talk about that. It's vulnerability is good.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not a weakness.
No.
Brene Brown taught us all that. Okay, you mentioned your kids. They're in their 20s. They've left. They're doing their own things now. So that leaves you two. This is another shift coming into this, like what I guess people call empty nester syndrome.
Yeah.
Is it a syndrome? I don't know. Is it great? Is it weird?
It's a navigation.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's a accomplishment, because I think when you have kids, you don't know what the outcome is going to be. You can say, okay, you're going to raise kids, and it's like you're going to do the best you can, support them, give them the utensils that they need to develop and go through life. But you know how it is when you go through a teenager, you go to your high school, and then you go to college. I mean, there's a transitional phase there. And so when they first went to college, it was like, okay, I'm sobbing a little bit, but man, there's nothing about being a free-spirited empty nester. I mean, you're talking about, like I always tell them, like when they come home, just make sure you knock on the door, because you may get traumatized by mom and dad. And so that's the best thing about being an empty nester is like, hey, look, we don't have to worry about anyone. You guys make sure you let us know you're coming home. But they're doing good. We're proud of them.
Sock on the door.
No, just make sure you give us a heads up.
I love it. Okay, I want to talk sports now, because I read something. Tell me if this is true, because what we read is often not true. But there was a time when you were either before or around the time when you were with the Chiefs.
Yeah.
When you described struggling with anxiety.
Yeah.
There was like was it high blood pressure? Is it anxiety?
Yeah.
Like, clear that up for me.
Well, here's the thing for me is that I kind of, when I was in Dallas at the time, and I signed the Chiefs as a free agent, and it was a big contract back then. That's what you do. You transition and move on. You make the money. But there was something different, and I don't know if it was anxiety. I mean, yeah, I know it was anxiety. I mean, that's something that a lot of people live with, and something that I live with. And I don't know if it's anxiety about maybe being a hypochondriac or not, just thinking that something wasn't right. Because when you're an athlete, you know everything, and most people do that take care of themselves. They know everything about their body. If something's not ticking the right way, you're like, okay, that's not right. You know, if your mind or something, you're thinking about something and it's worrisome, and you're like, okay, what's going on here? Then you want to kind of try to find out what the problem is. And so when I was actually with Kansas City, they weren't as patient as I would have thought they had been. I said, look, I'm just going to make sure I'm okay, because I didn't know what was going on. So I got a second opinion. And really, you know, when I look back at it now, it's probably wasn't, you know, I made some decisions probably being more impulsive than I would have liked to. Maybe that was with anxiety and just, you know, how you just make impulsive decisions and kind of like that. And maybe it was those impulsive decisions, but more importantly, I think I felt like a peace of mind. And so it didn't work out. I didn't go to Kansas City, and I'm going to New York for a couple of years. But, you know, I felt like I found some closure in the way, you know, what was going on. I was able to deal with it and really just take a couple deep breaths. You know, I remember when I was playing for Dallas, we're right before the San Francisco 49ers championship game here. And, you know, I'm always used to being able to go to sleep the night before a game. And so all of a sudden I started getting worked up, and I was like, okay, well, this isn't right. Just calm down. Then my heart started beating really fast. I'm like, okay, well, you know, what's going on? And so I called the trainer. I said, well, you know, I'm not feeling right. You know, I'm real restless. My heart feels like I have heart palpitations or what. I don't know what the hell's going on. And so they ended up calling the ambulance, because I thought I was having a heart attack or something. So basically it was like an anxiety attack. And I was just worked up, and I was like, you know, I was thinking all this stuff was going through my mind, and I'm trying to like figure out, you know, focus too much on the game, which you do that. But it was something that was more out of control than anything else. But and
that's that mind-body connection.
Yeah, you know, it really is, because really, and you're in the yoga and you understand that. It's all about deep breaths and like slowing yourself down. But I'm like, I wasn't used to that.
Yeah, and especially back then, I feel like athletes, high performance athletes, elite athletes, right? The pros, they're training differently now. I think the mental game, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, is such a bigger part of it now than it used to be.
Yeah, I think that you're the for anything, I think the mental aptitude that you have, especially in sports or anything, it's mind over matter. I say I used to say, if you don't mind, it don't matter, but that doesn't right. But the point being is that you're able to go through the breathing, go through the, you know, things that really give you the mental, just take your mind off of it, get away from it. Because especially professional football, it's such an intense game. And it's kind of hard to like slow yourself down and take your level down, because you're so used to being up here. And certainly that's what I was going through with, you know, the anxiety attacks. And then so I just, you know, like you said, I just tried to figure out how to, you know, slow myself down, take deep breaths, and not worry as much about other things, you know.
So because you spent so much time up here, high performing, go, anxious, when you transition into retirement, how did you feel then?
That's why it's difficult.
Yeah.
It really is a transition, because I think that, you know, as an athlete, you're so used to being structured, you're so used to being someplace, and, you know, everything's kind of mapped out for you, your schedule and everything. And all of a sudden, you know, 34 years old, you're done. You're like, we don't have room for you anymore. You've passed your prime, and you step away from the game. So it's really hard to find something, the euphoric, we're going out in front of a crowd, performing. Certainly back in the 90s, we're winning Super Bowls, the adulation, because that's a big part of your life. And it's like, what am I going to do to substitute that? You know, I need to find something. And to this day, I haven't really found that. You know, I'm 59 years old, but the point being is that you'll never be able to replace that. I mean, there's certain aspects that you look at, but as you get older, you're like, okay, you know, that changes. But when you first come out, it's kind of like you're a lost soul. And I think if you set yourself up for something different, but that's what I tell everyone. It's like Brett Favre. I remember one time I heard him in an interview. He said, Because I'm like, okay, when I get out of football, I'm done. I'm going to play golf all the time. I did that. But, the best thing I heard that really kind of stuck with me is I heard Brett Favre say, you know what? I tried to just say, change, leave football. Then I realized, it's part of my identity. So I'm going to embrace it. And I was like, there's nothing wrong with that. Because, you want to try something different.
Yeah.
You want to go out there and you want to start a business. You want to do something. But the euphoric and everything that you have whenever you play a sport, that's what you miss.
Yeah.
It's irreplaceable.
Well, and I've heard other athletes talk about that transition. And so it made me wonder, is there, other than your support system, and I'd love to know who that support system included, like was it other players, family, friends, who carried you through that transition? But then also, does the NFL have a mechanism to support
what the
people
NFL,
in this transition?
The NFL is they fell in a lot of different areas, and they've gotten better. But I think that this is the common denominator, is like people, you make so much money that you're going to be fine for the rest of your 25, 30 years you live after your 20s or 30s.
If you manage it well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the point being is like you have to find something that's your niche. Find something that you feel like that you're educated, that someone that hopefully when you're in your career, mentors you about business and being able to understand that aspect of it. In the NFL, they've gotten better, but it's kind of something that they really don't, specialize in. They have different programs, don't get me wrong, it's gotten better. But I don't think that's hard, because I think the problem is that you have to change your lifestyle, you have to change things that you're used to doing and that you can't do maybe anymore. And the challenges of finding someone that you really want to have come into your circle and you can trust, because you've heard the war stories about athletes. Just people want to be around you. They want to be associated with you, just because of what you have and who you are. It's like anything in life, right? If you're successful, it's common, you're human beings, to be attracted to that. And I think that that's the hardest thing, is like you have to figure out, okay, this is going to stop. Okay, I'm going to have this much money, but what am I going to do to carry me in, hopefully for my second life?
Yeah.
And that's the thing that the NFL I wish would do better. Mentors, someone in business that mentors the guys. Because if you don't have any business savvy when you're 21 years old, think about it.
Yeah.
You don't have money. You're not used to like managing that. And Uncle Julio says, "Hey man, I got this investment. Where you want to put my money in it?" It's like, anyway,
Yeah.
that's all those stories.
Are there any people, because you talked about trust, and that's a big part of it. So are there any people who you leaned on then who you still trust now?
Yeah, that's a great question, because I think that that's the challenging thing, because it seems like it's others people's money. There's a lot of OPMs out there. And so I meet a lot of those people when I first came out. And, family, I always tell people, worst thing to do is do business with family. And not that it can't happen.
It gets kind of sticky.
Yeah, it's just like you probably can run a really good relationship if you're, it gets down to in money and that's involved. But, when I first got out of the NFL, I went in the oil and gas business and had a partner with that. And so I've done a lot of different things. But to answer your question, there's only maybe two people that I know, and one of them's a guy that I grew up in high school. I've known him before high school. Imagine that. And then there's a couple other people that I know that I reach out to and ask for advice. But
the high school friend doesn't surprise me, though, because I always say that it's the people who knew you before you became who you became. They saw the processes, they saw the shifts and the transitions, they stuck with you, they stuck through like the harder times, and you could be your real self, because that's who they always knew, is who you have always been.
And you really find that out too, because You know, when people, all the time, when people have success, they're up and they're down. And your friends are like a yo-yo. It's like whenever, and unfortunately, I mean, that's just the way life is. But you know, that's so right, because I guess you really find out who your friends are in really bad times.
Yeah. Good
times. The best time is when you go through bad times with your friends, and you get some good times. I mean, that's when you really just want to embrace each other and like, hey, we got through the circles of life and got through the challenges, and I really appreciate you being there for me.
Yeah, true gratitude. I got a game
Okay.
before you go. All right, you get to pick a card. It's not a tarot card or anything.
Oh, it's not?
No, I know you were excited about that.
Yeah, I was.
It's an empowering question. So just read the question and answer it honestly.
Oh, wow. This is a good one. Is there something I should let go of to be able to move forward? Ooh. Yeah, I think there is. By my own admission and my own experience, is you got to let go of anything that you ever had, any falling outs with your family. And really, I think you learn this, and hopefully you get a little bit more older wisdom, if you will. It's like you just got to let it go, because it doesn't do you any good to be angry, to be right and you're wrong. And here's the thing, it's like, when I think about this, it's like, you can only do your part, right? So I can always, like, if I have something going on, it's like I can only do, like, apologize and do the things of whatever I'm contrite about, whatever I may have did to Sonia or anyone else. And if I've done that, I'm good with that. But there's so many people that just can't let it go, and I'm one of them. So I think that would be just be able to forgive family for what they may have, thought maybe they'd done to you, and don't hold any grudges.
The new year is a good time for that.
Absolutely.
Perfect.
Yeah.
That was chosen for you, apparently.
Did you pull that out for me?
You did it. That was your doing.
All these cards the same.
It's the universe. It's that collective consciousness,
Absolutely.
right? Hey, thank you so much for your time. Seriously, you could be literally anywhere right now, and I really appreciate getting to talk to you about so many shifts in life. That's
Yeah.
why I called this the shift, because we're always in a transition period,
Right.
and people don't always know how to get through that without hearing from people like you. So thank you.
I appreciate you having me on, and good luck. I'm sure you'll knock it out of the park, and it's always great to see you.
Always good to see you too. I hope that we
Can
can
we do
see you
one of
again
those?
soon.
Can you do what's it?
Namaste.
Namaste.
Thank you for being here with us on the shift. We'll see you next time. This podcast is made possible by our friends at the Center for Integrative Counseling and Psychology. The center provides counseling for children, teens, and adults in offices across North and Central Texas and online. They also offer psychological evaluations for kids and adults to help determine issues like ADHD, to help you reach your potential in school, work, and life. Through counseling at the center, you can gain insight, learn, grow, and build skills to live your best life emotionally and in your relationships. They accept most major insurance plans and work to make it easy to set up counseling to get you on track to achieve your goals. Their therapists care, share their expertise, and guide you in navigating life as well as transforming your life. Check them out at www.thecentercounseling.org. Tell them we sent you. The Center, counseling for life transformation, counseling for insight and growth.